it's the start of another busy week. We're glad to be part of your week and your day. This is Business Morning on Channels Television. I'm Harriet Agbinyi. Let's start with this breaking news from the National Bureau of Statistics. Starting the week on a very negative note. Today, the Bureau of Statistics released Q3 GDP data. Let's take a look at those numbers. Real quarterly GDP growth for the third quarter is at minus 2.24% from minus 2.06% recorded in the second quarter of the year. Nominal GDP is at 26.6 trillion naira, while real GDP is at 17.8 trillion naira. Now, this contraction, as we've seen, recorded for the third quarter is lower 0.18 points from growth recorded in the preceding quarter, and also lower by 5.08% points from growth recorded in the corresponding quarter of 2015. During the period under review, oil production, according to the NNPC, averaged at 1.63 million barrels per day, lower from production in the second quarter of 2016. As a result, we saw the oil sector slowed by minus 22.01% year on year. The oil sector contributed about 8.19% of total real GDP, down from figures recorded in the corresponding period of 2015 and the preceding quarter of 2016 at 10.27 and 8.26% respectively. Well, growth in the non-oil sector was largely driven by activities of agriculture, including crop production, as well as the information, communication and other services. The non-oil sector grew by 0.03% in real terms in the third quarter, reversing the last two quarters of negative growth recorded in the first and second quarter this year. This was 0.41% higher from the second quarter, yet 3.03% lower from the corresponding quarter in 2015. So in real terms, the non-oil sector contributed about 91.81% to the nation's GDP, higher from what was recorded in the second quarter of 2016, which was at 91.74%. So this is the breaking news story we got from the National Bureau of Statistics this morning. Of course, you can go to the website to see the numbers, and we'll be chewing it throughout today and for the rest of the week. These numbers are coming on the same day as the Monetary Policy Committee begins its final meeting for the year. The meeting is, of course, happening in the nation's capital, Abuja. Tomorrow, which is Tuesday, the second day of the meeting, will be when the decisions reached by the committee will be announced. And so we'll be focusing on that for the week and, of course, on the program today. Also on track this business week, the Securities and Exchange Commission holds the fourth quarter meeting of all capital market participants on November 24. Channels Business News has got an eye on that for you as well. So, in the news, the federal government is seeking amendments to the Foreign Exchange Act, looking to jail or fine up to 20% of the value of US dollars or any other foreign currencies held by anyone in excess of 30 days. With this latest move, the Nigerian government is seeking the power to, among other things, stop illicit outflows of foreign exchange out of the country. According to the draft, the existing law is narrow in scope and prohibits the seizure, forfeiture, or expropriation of imported money by the government without providing for exceptions. In the coming days, we'll definitely get to know what this is really all about. Meanwhile, Fitch says the ability of Nigerian authorities to support no-floor rated banks is weakening due to Nigeria's eroding currency reserves and revenues. Now, what this means, according to the ratings agency, is that senior creditors can no longer rely on receiving full and timely support from the Nigerian government if any of the banks become non-viable. But Fitch affirmed the long-term issuer default ratings for Zenith, GT Bank, Access Bank, UBA, Wema Bank, and Bank of Industry. So 10 local lenders, support ratings of 10 local lenders were shaved to no floor. 9 banks get support ratings cut to number 5. And as I said, the long-term IDR affirmed for Zenith, GT Bank, Access, UBA, Wema, and Bank of Industry. Well, so while we're chewing and digesting the numbers just released from the National Bureau of Statistics showing Nigerian economy has further contracted by 2.24% from 2.06% recorded in the second quarter. Let's review the markets, at least where they finished off from last week, and of course how most likely it'll be shaping up for this week. So much for investors to chew on, but already most of investors had actually priced in the contraction that's seen in the economy and the fact that the economy is in recession. We'll be talking much later to a financial and management consultant, Oji Udemezwe, to get his thoughts on these numbers as just released by the National Bureau of Statistics, and of course if this will have any impact whatsoever on the decisions that will be taken by the Monetary Policy Committee as they begin their meeting today on Tuesday. It's a two-day rate setting meeting, and well, today they talk about all of the issues and the deliberations, and by tomorrow we'll get to know their decisions when the communique is released sometime after 2:30 p.m. That will be after the markets, that's the Nigerian equities market, and most of the financial markets we track here for you would have closed. But of course investors are keeping their eye very closely on this meeting and keeping their eye very closely on numbers that come out from the National Bureau of Statistics. So all of that will be chewing in just a bit. And Bosun Omofaye, Channel's business news editor, will be joining me also on the program as we take a look at some of the issues that have come up in the monetary space with regards to the Nigerian economy. But let me quickly run you through some of the numbers as we have them from the markets that we track for you here on the program. Last week, we saw a lot of profit taking off most of the equities listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. And so we saw the market further depressed and shaving off almost over 200 billion naira in just 1 week as investors continue to take a lackluster position towards equities. So shaping up the market last week, let's take a look at the equities, and the all-share index ended the week 2.42% facing